Hello, everybody. I wanted to, jump up on here real quick, and I want to explain what happens in my head. And hopefully, it'll make sense, and maybe other people kind of go through the same thing. I want to start with the quote that Carl Jung. I reference him a lot. I learned a lot from this man. He's sort of like the father of clinical psychology. Him and Sigmund Freud. But Carl Jung broke away from Sigmund Freud, and I'll get into that another time. But Carl Jung said the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are. I'm going to say that again. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are. Because I'm going to use what I'm going through right now as an example to that. So, the person I was, I'll go back 10 years ago, was someone of a persona, a version of me I was presenting to the world. There was another version of me that was hiding parts of who I was for reasons of being accepted. That's the best way I can say it. And I was hiding things about me that I felt would fracture my persona that people were seeing and giving me feedback of what a good person I was. And I probably was that person, but I was still hiding a lot of my true self, who I really was. So it's a becoming who you really are is taking parts of the persona and parts of what you're hiding. The persona is in the day, is in the light. The shadow, the part you're hiding, is in the darkness. They're still part of you. They're still part of who you are. And then there's your soul, your divine self. This is the part that talks to you. So the part you're hiding, the fractured, the that's the inner child. That's the abandoned child. That's in the abyss, the belly of the beast, caught in the belly of the whale at the bottom of the ocean. And the that's really the hero. So these are all the parts that you're hiding from. Look within. Everything you need is inside. And it's a process of of doing work to to live that privilege of becoming who you really are. And it's like when I'm preparing to do these talks, it's like that inner child is trying to protect me from getting hurt, trying to tell me that, you know, this is unfamiliar territory. You're making yourself vulnerable. Why are you doing this? There's parts of me that are trying to stop me from saying these things to protect the persona, the mask I've worn that's been exceedingly successful in getting people to like a version of me that I was presenting. But it was not the full story. And I was suppressing parts of me in order to fulfill that that version, fulfill that version of me that was successfully getting people to accept who I was. And for 50 years, that's what it was. And but I was getting chewed up inside, and I was broken in a million pieces. But it's those pieces that need to be put back together inside. And that's what I started to do first through therapy, and then going back to that wounded child that was trapped, shackled, imprisoned, and instead of the way I protected that hidden child was to never get hurt again by anybody. So I made everybody my friend. Everybody was a friend, and that's not who I really was. I was agreeable. I was a negotiator, non-confrontational, and my persona pretended to be a lot of things, but I avoided conflict at all costs. And but you know, I've integrated. I'm working really hard to find out who I really am. And the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you really are. And it's a dark, dark, dark place. And you're gonna get hurt along the way. You're gonna lose things. You're gonna be broken apart. You're gonna shed the persona. And life is gonna feel like, you know, when you start pulling off the mask, you feel a sense of vulnerability. But all that hidden stuff that's inside, these are the parts that we need in order to become whole, to become who we really are. So, at one point 4 years ago, I was almost 400 pounds. I was on a path to early death. And as soon as I started doing this work, as soon as I started integrating parts of me that I was protecting, then all that changed. I'm about 250 pounds right now. I want to get down to 225 by June. I'm going backpacking. I'm doing all these things. I'm going to be 60 years old at the end of April. And when I was 40 years old, I was not in any condition to be able to take on a backpacking trip. Now, at 20 years later, I'm equipped to do that because I'm working really hard. And that's the journey. That's what I'm trying to share. That's what I'm building. That's the empire I'm trying to build. And it is an empire because I got a lot of structure I'm working on. But there's that inner voice that's always telling me that people are judging you. People don't want to hear this stuff. People think you sound like an idiot. People, you know, they're just humoring you. That's that inner child. That's that that devouring mother that I've spoken about. That's that voice that's trying to keep me protected. Why are you making yourself so vulnerable? Why are you pouring your heart out into the world? Keep the persona, keep the mask on. That's what's worked. But I'm not going to do that anymore. I can't do that. It's not going to work. So that's what I'm building upon. And the more I do this, the more I talk about it, the more I take action, the more that child gets a feeling of a voice of saying, yes, I want to come out. I want to come out into the light. I'm in the darkness now, and I feel safe here in the darkness. But yeah, I'm gonna tiptoe out into the daylight. And you need a vision to do that. You need a goal. You need a reason. And Nietzsche said, if you have the why, you'll find the how. You need the why first. Why are you going to do this? Then you find the how. And it's all within. Look within. Look within. And I'm going to talk about how I did that. Then hopefully it'll help out other people. So, okay. Thank you so much. Love you guys and peace out.